Hi, everybody. This is Sandy. I would like to bring to you a little mini lesson with regard to the state constitutions. In 2021, I began studying constitutional law and the fundamental law with my teacher, Dave Jose, who I consider, in my opinion, an expert in constitutional law and the fundamental principles of law. And while we were in one of the webinars, I had noticed as we were reading that one of the provisions said that the people had the right to alter, reform, and abolish their government. So was really curious about what that meant. So I had asked Dave if he could explain that to me. And I said, "So Dave, what does that look like?" And he said, "Anything you want it to." So I thought that maybe I would like to bring alter, reform, and abolish, the terminologies we find in quite a few of actually in the 50 state constitutions, and let's take a closer look at what that means. So if you hang with me, I'll get those slides rolling. New Hampshire Constitution, Part 1st, Article 10, Right of Revolution. Government being instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the whole community, and not the private interest or emolument of any one man, family, or class of men. Therefore, whenever the ends of government are perverted, and public liberty manifestly endangered, and all other means of redress are ineffectual, the people may, and of right, ought to reform the old and establish a new government. The doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive to the good and happiness of mankind. Let's see what we have in the next upcoming constitutions. The Pennsylvania and Nevada Constitution, let's take a look at them. Pennsylvania Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Political Powers. All power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such a manner as they may think proper. In the Nevada Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, purpose of government, paramount, allegiance to the United States. We're only going to read the very first section of this. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for the protection, safety, and benefit of the people, and they have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require it. So if you notice, these two, the Pennsylvania Constitution and Nevada Constitution, have very similar language with regard to the alter, reform, and abolish. And if you really take a look at it, it is really about the protection, safety, security, and benefit for none other than the people. And both of them also state that the people hold all political power. With that, now we'll go ahead and we'll look at another constitution. So I'd like to give you a little bit of time right now to go ahead and read what is left in the Nevada Constitution before I go into the next couple of constitutions, and take your time, and it'll be shortly. Okay, now let's look at Minnesota Constitution and the Wyoming Constitution. Minnesota Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Object of Government. Government is instituted for the security, benefit, and protection of the people, in whom all political power is inherent, together with the right to alter, modify, or reform the government whenever required by the public good. Wyoming Constitution, Declaration of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, power inherent in the people. All power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable and indefeasible right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such a manner as they may think proper. So think about the words that we are seeing. We're seeing very, very common language used so far in the four constitutions that we looked at. Virginia Constitution, Article 1, Section 3. Government instituted for common benefit. That government is, or ought to be, instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community, of all the various modes and forms of government, that is best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is most effectually secured against the danger of maladministration. And whenever any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community hath an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it in such a manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. And in the Indiana Constitution, Bill of Rights, Article 1, Section 1, Inherent Rights, we declare that all people are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all power is inherent in the people, and that all free governments are of right, ought to be, founded on their authority, and instituted for their peace, safety, and well-being. For the advancement of these ends, the people have at all times, an indefeasible right to alter and reform their government. So with that, let's do a little review here of what our operative words are to be. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a wrap up of what we just read in the 7 constitutions. So there's some operative words to get familiar with if you're wanting to really learn about the people's rights from the 50 state constitutions. They are, remember that the people have all political power. And the reason that is they have the political power because they were the ones who created the government. And they created the government for their sole purpose of their benefit, okay? So everything that the government decides to do is really supposed to be for the benefit of the people. And also the other thing is remember that the purpose of when the people created the government, because they were just freed from England, and they wrote, if you read the Declaration of Independence, it's one of the most interesting documents because it tells you all the infringements that were placed upon the people's rights that were trampled. And take a peek at it if you have the opportunity, if you never have before. Whether they teach that in the schools or not these days, I don't know. But anyway, one thing is remember that the people did create the government, and they did it for the sole purpose so that they would have peace, safety, well-being, happiness, and protection. So my question to you is, do you think that's happening today in our society? And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do a second lesson with regard to, if you've been paying attention what's happening in the world, there are a couple countries right now to where if you are reading about them, they are doing a little bit of what we studied with regard to our operative words, reform, alter, and abolish. So please stay tuned and I'll bring you a little second lesson on that and show you some examples of what currently is happening in our society. Thanks again for tuning in, and what I will be doing in my YouTube link, I will be dropping links of my teacher, Dave Jose. So if you are interested, he has tons of free videos to study the Constitution and fundamental laws and the maxims and principles. And also, if you like the visuals that you saw with regard to the constitutions and the color, I have a dear friend, Jill, who has created this for all 50 states. They're small and handy enough, and I will put her link down to her stand store at the bottom of the video. Reach out to her if you're interested in getting some of these copies for yourself. They're small, they're convenient, and it's a great way to study the Constitution. They're very colorful. So again, thanks again. Stay tuned for lesson number 2 to come shortly.